Welcome to this overview video for the Conservation by Design Strategy Selection module. I'm Josh Goldstein, and I'm part of the Conservation by Design team. Conservation by Design is the Nature Conservancy's method for developing impactful and equitable strategies to achieve the 2030 goals. Within Conservation by Design, the purpose of the Strategy Selection module is to help a conservation team develop and align on a quality set of strategies so that the team is positioned to achieve its desired outcomes. Put another way, this is the module where the team answers the question, what should we do, as TNC and with partners and communities, to achieve the goals we're reaching towards for nature and people? A compelling answer to this question gives a team clarity about what it is committing to and why the team thinks those actions are the right ones to pursue. This figure shows the full set of Conservation by Design modules, including modules that support planning readiness and modules that relate to steps in a planning process. The strategy selection module sits towards the right of the modules diagram, as this is a conversation to have once a team is already aligned on the key aspects of the planning context, such as the team's objectives and an understanding of the planning situation. A few examples of when teams might find value in using this module are as follows. First, when a team is developing a new strategy, and therefore it's deciding for the first time which strategies to pursue. Or a team may be managing an existing strategy and has built evidence that its pilot projects are working, so it wants to explore expanding its strategy to achieve greater scale of impact. Or conversely, a team may have learned that its work is not making the progress it hoped for, yet they remain committed to their desired outcomes. So the team wants to come back and brainstorm fresh strategy ideas and see if a new approach is worth taking. Before a team begins this module, there are a few things to check to make sure the team is ready. For each of these, the team could do the work through the relevant Conservation by Design module, or the team may already be aligned on that aspect through previous discussions and not need to do the module. That's the flexible approach we're aiming for with the updated version of Conservation by Design. So first, a team should be aligned on its planning scope, what's in versus out for the strategy selection process. Second, the team should have identified and developed a plan to equitably engage TNC colleagues and key interested parties in the strategy development process. Third, the team should be aligned on its objectives, meaning desired outcomes for its conservation work, and have outlined clear linkages to the 2030 goals. And finally, the team should be aligned on the core challenges affecting what it cares about and potential leverage points for intervention. All of these help check the team's readiness to begin this module. Once a team completes this module, the selected strategies are then directly used to build the theory of change and the monitoring, evaluation, and learning plan. Given that this module is about strategy selection, it's helpful to define what we mean by a strategy. TNC's 2030 Goals Glossary on Connect defines a strategy as, quote, a coherent body of interlinked actions that contribute to 2030 goals. A strategy is defined by a theory of change, guided by a monitoring, evaluation, and learning plan, and executed through projects. Strategies are executed at a variety of scales from local to global. So let's illustrate this definition. We can think of an overarching strategy that's composed of multiple interlinked actions. For example, a team may pursue a strategy to work with farmers to adopt regenerative agricultural practices to improve water quality. Some of the actions they could pursue are to synthesize evidence on best practices to improve water quality, develop sourcing commitments from purchasers, and to test farmer incentives for adoption of regenerative practices. And a second example is a strategy to advance policies to effectively site renewable energy infrastructure expansion. Possible actions here might be conducting spatial and policy analyses to inform siting decisions, building an inclusive coalition of partners, and undertaking targeted lobbying to build political support. Depending on your team, the scope of a strategy may be smaller or larger than these examples, but the main point is that a strategy is the overarching concept defined by component interlinked actions and having a through line to the 2030 goals. The final output of this module is what we call a strategy table. This table describes key aspects of the strategy, or more often the set of strategies, that the planning team selects for implementation and the rationale for the team's decision. So this shows the general structure of the table. While the content can vary according to the team's needs, at a minimum, we're trying to capture the following components: a description of the strategy and its main component parts, what outcomes the strategy will achieve, including contributions to the 2030 goals, and an understanding of why Team C should pursue this work and why now is the time to pursue it. Having this information sets up the team to build a theory of change as the next step in the planning process, or to update the theory of change if the team is refreshing an existing body of work. So the purpose of the strategy selection module talks about helping a team select a quality set of strategies. So I want to unpack now what we mean by the word quality. So when teams are exploring candidate, meaning potential strategies, it's helpful to consider a set of 5 properties. The first property is that the strategies are complete, meaning they collectively address the team's full range of objectives, in other words, ultimate ends in alignment to the 2030 goals. Second property is compelling, meaning the candidate strategies provide an actionable solution to the core problems the team seeks to address through its work. Third is feasible, meaning the candidate strategies have a reasonable pathway to implementation. This may be because the desirable factors exist now, or the team has a credible plan for how to establish them through implementing the strategy. During initial idea generation, the team should both critically scrutinize feasibility while also being careful to not overly worry about this condition so they don't prematurely remove promising ideas. The next property is creative, meaning the candidate strategies include options that go beyond obvious or conventional ideas. And similar, the last one is the range of options. Making sure the team is prepared to explore a wide range and isn't just anchoring on known or the status quo options in its brainstorm. So when the planning team works through the module and is ready to select its final set of strategies, it's the first 3 properties that should mostly guide the decision-making process: complete, compelling, and feasible. The strategy selection module is organized around a set of 4 processes. All teams should do the first process, and then they should decide which of the remaining processes are most pertinent to address their strategy development needs. The first process is setting the context. This establishes the frame for strategy development to make sure everyone on the planning team is on the same page as to what they are developing strategies for. Second process is idea generation. This is where the team rolls up its sleeves to brainstorm and develop a set of candidate strategies that are aligned to its objectives and the 2030 goals. Third is strategy evaluation. This is where a team runs a set of candidate strategies through a structured evaluation process to more rigorously assess their potential impact, feasibility, and strategic niche. The last process is strategy selection, which provides a structured process for selecting which set of strategies the team will commit to, and also any it will not commit to, through transparent and documented decisions. Let's next take a quick look at what's involved in each of these processes. Across TNC's global reach, we work on a wide range of strategies in a really incredibly diverse set of contexts. The purpose of setting the context process is to articulate the context for strategy development and to make sure that everyone on the planning team is aligned on that information, so you're starting from the same page. This quote by Craig Groves and Eddie Game from their conservation planning book says it perfectly. Quote, "Unless problems are well framed, it is almost impossible to determine what a good solution should be." Toward that, the setting the context process is a brief but important one through which the team makes sure it's aligned on the core pieces that set up strategy brainstorming discussions. It's things like planning scope, objectives, the focal problem they're addressing and leverage points for intervention, and who to involve and how to drive an inclusive, equitable strategy development process. The next process is strategy idea generation, and it's one that most teams do because it's the place where you expansively brainstorm possible strategies and hone in on a promising set to consider further and ultimately select from. The workflow for idea generation follows these general steps. You start by brainstorming lots of ideas about possible actions that could contribute to a strategy. Then the team sifts through the various ideas and looks for patterns and emergent themes to organize them into a first draft set of candidate strategies. The planning team then reviews and works to iteratively strengthen the set of candidate strategies and discards any that don't make sense. At the end, the team aligns on what it sees as a promising set of candidate strategies, and in some cases, this is sufficient for the team to decide which strategies to pursue. But in other cases, the team will want to go on to further processes in this module. Next process is strategy evaluation, which involves conducting a structured, predictive evaluation of a set of candidate strategies to assess their relative strengths and limitations. By analyzing each candidate strategy, based on a set of consistent evaluation criteria, the team gets an apples-to-apples comparison of one strategy to another. This process is oriented around a set of evaluation criteria built around three major categories: impact, feasibility, and niche. Impact refers to the predicted contribution that the strategy, if successfully implemented, can be reasonably expected to make to the team's objectives and the 2030 goals. Feasibility refers to the likelihood that the strategy can be successfully implemented as envisioned. Finally, niche refers to assessing whether TNC or the collaborating partners can play a strategic, value-added role to enable the strategy to be successful. For each of these categories, we suggest a range of possible evaluation criteria. A team can select which subset of criteria are most pertinent to their strategy decisions and add any that are missing, and use those to generate insights about the relative impact, feasibility, and strategic niche of different options. The insights generated are often quite helpful in identifying ways that an individual strategy, or the set as a whole, can be improved to overcome expected weaknesses, better leverage favorable enabling conditions, and target more compelling pathways to impact. The final process is strategy selection. This is where a team takes a set of candidate strategies and works through a structured process to choose which strategy or set of strategies to implement, and the rationale behind that decision. The discussion is oriented around a sorting framework comprised of 4 options. Decisions should be made at the level of each candidate strategy, and where appropriate, also for the key components or actions outlined in the strategy table. The 4 options are as follows: yes now, meaning conditions are right to move this work forward; yes later, meaning this work is a good idea, but one or more key enabling conditions are not in place, and it's best to wait until those conditions are present to move the work forward; learning, meaning this work has strong potential, but there are substantial uncertainties, and the team should focus on learning activities to clarify if it's worth pursuing or not. And finally, not now, meaning now is not the time to pursue this work because enabling conditions are not present. These are options that should be useful for most planning contexts, though a team can certainly modify them as needed to best inform their decisions. Overall, we recommend keeping the options relatively straightforward and not too many, so the team can focus on having a robust discussion rather than getting bogged down in too many process steps. Deciding where to place each strategy is important, and equally so is clearly and transparently documenting the rationale for the decision. This helps ensure that everyone understands that decisions have been made and the reasons for those decisions. That completes our overview of the 4 processes. As a reminder, all teams should go through setting the context, and then, depending upon what a team needs from this module, they can choose from the remaining processes of idea generation, evaluation, and selection. If you're interested in furthering your learning about this module, please check out the following resources. First, read through the module documents posted on the Conservation by Design website. If you're looking to get trained to facilitate this module, please enroll in the facilitation course on conservationtraining.org. If you're interested in diving deeper into the concepts and methods underpinning this module, a great resource is a book chapter titled Framing Conservation Planning Problems by Craig Groves and Eddie Game in their Conservation Planning book. A link to a PDF of this book chapter is available through the module documents on our website. Thanks for watching, and we hope this module will support your team in selecting impactful and equitable strategies to achieve the 2030 goals.